Hi guys, right, very pleased to say that we should now be able to fully populate our databases with all the units. Later on we'll do something with detachments again, but once you've done all the units in your faction, that's really the hard work done. So what I've got here is I've got my computer emulating a mobile experience on the left, and we've got Warhammer over here on the right, doing its usual thing, taking up all of the space, crashing the computer because it needs to have its ads. So we will add in command file site just to show you how it works. I'll very briefly recap what we've done so far. So if you, in order to add a unit, you need to add all the weapons for it. So I'm going to mock up a fake weapon, so call it boom, select faction, we'll go down to the Tau. Now what it does there is it checks the name and faction to see if it already exists. That's why it's really important if you're adding something for your faction and you run something like a Space Marine faction, you make sure that things that are not specific to your sub-chapter or sub-faction are saved under Space Marines. So for example, if you're running Blood Angels and you're putting in Blood Angels weaponry, you record that specifically under Blood Angels unless you're putting it under Space Marines because it's something like a heavy bolter that all Space Marine factions have access to. If it's like the Executioner's Axe that only Blood Angels get, then it goes under Blood Angels. You choose if it's a melee weapon, you add in the range, 12 inches, add in the attacks, 2 attacks. What does it hit on? Let's say it hits 4, and it's increased strength 100, armor penetration -2, damage 3. Ooh. I hit enter by mistake. Damage 3. So once you put a value into here, then these other bits pop up. Now these are the keywords. You see it says keyword value there. Don't enter anything into that first. Choose the keyword first. Because I'm emulating a mobile phone, it's a little bit janky, so I apologise. But let's say we give it, for now, devastating wounds. That's annoying that it just slips over a little bit, but oh well. Keyword 2, we will give it pistol. Keyword 3, I'm going to give it something that requires a value, like for example, rapid fire X. Now we add a value, so I'll give it rapid fire 20. Or 200 apparently. Let's try that again. 20, there we go. And then we don't want any more keywords, so we choose none. And then we don't want any more keywords, so again we choose none. Then once you've filled out all 5 keyword weapon slots, you would click save weapon. I'm not going to because I don't want this in the database. I'll click back. If you make a mistake as well, always hit the back button, it just resets it before anything saves. War gear. You're going to also need to add in all the war gear for a unit before you can start adding the unit. So you've got to do weapons, you've got to do war gear. Again, the other thing that's important with weapons is you've got to make sure you choose the average. So if, for example, most of your units that use, for example, heavy bolters hit on a 4 up, then you need to put in 4, even if you've got commanders and sergeants that hit on a 2 up, that's fine. I'll go over that in a second, but you'll find out. So, war gear name, we'll put in boomstick. And again, we'll choose the faction. I don't know why I've got an obsession with booming today. Tau Empire, again it checks. Nope, surprisingly there's no boomstick in the Tau Empire. You add in a description. I'm not going to bother because that's all there is to it. You then click save and we're done with the war gear. War gear is really simple, really quick. Then you get to add units. Now we're going to add in command file site so you can see the easy one. So we've got Warhammer over here on the right. Because of all its adverts, it runs about as slow as a potato, and it slows down everything else I've got running at once. So we're going to check the Tau Empire. Nope, there's no command file site in that database yet. He's not homebrew, I haven't made him up. What unit type is he? He's actually an epic hero. These are the same as the regular Warhammer app. So if there's a transport, you'll know what those are. Battle line, you know what they are. Characters, fairly obvious. Anything else goes into other data sheets. He's actually an epic hero, so he's going to go down to that. Movement 10, toughness 5, save is a 2 up, wounds is 8, leadership is 6, and OC is 2. Now, because I'm emulating mobile, it's not scrolling down. It should scroll down for you, but if it doesn't, just scroll with your finger. Now, range weapons, he's got a high intensity plasma rifle. Fortunately, I've added in all the Tau weapons, so high intensity plasma rifle right there. And you can see it's got range correct, attacks correct, ballistic skill. Oh, it says 4 up. That should be a 2 up. So that's clearly a mistake by me, but because he's the only one who uses that weapon. But if I leave it as a what I can do is I can modify it. And what these ballistic skills modifiers, that's how you get your sergeants or commanders to hit more accurately over the regular Space Marines. So if you have, for example, a unit that hits even worse, you could put in a negative number like -1, and then suddenly you can see that ballistic skills change to 5. Because it's Commander Darkside, I need to actually improve it by 2, so that ballistic skills now changed to 2. And we're going to add in his melee weapons, so we've got Dawnblade Strike and Dawnblade Sweep. Now those ones I have filled in correctly, so weapon skill 2 on those. They don't have any keywords, so we don't need to worry about that. If your weapons do have keywords and they're not showing at the table, don't worry, they will do later on. If you add in a weapon and you don't mean to, unfortunately I haven't made a way to remove these from the table. You just have to hit this back button up here, and that will reset the table and take you back to the main menu. You just have to go back in and start from scratch, I'm afraid. So don't make mistakes. Next we're going to choose abilities keywords. Now these are these over here, so you've got Deep Strike and Leader on this one. So let's go for Deep Strike. There it is at the bottom. And then we'll add in Leader as well. Now Leader opens up a whole bunch of new options. So we've got Select Bodyguard Unit. So fortunately I've previously added in the 3 units that you can lead. So add them in the correct order according to Wikipedia. So we've got Fire Knife Battlesuits, Star Scythe Battlesuits, and Sunforge Battlesuits. Then there's obviously some still stylistic changes that need to fix. All this text should be yellow, the first ones shouldn't be white, and the first one should have a coloured background instead of being see-through like the rest. Anyway, additional abilities, that would be this bit here. I'll copy that and just paste it into here. War gear options. Now Commander Darktide, being an epic hero, doesn't have any war gear options. Some do, which is why it's still in here. But if, for example, I were adding Commander and Cold Star Battlesuit, I'd copy and paste all of it. In fact, let's do that. Let's change this to be Commander and Cold Star Battlesuit, just because that's a better example of that. So let's chuck these in here. Change. See, this is an example. So go back to the top, like that, go back into that unit. So this is a good example of what to do if you make a mistake. So I'll copy and paste that into name, change the faction to town. They're not homebrew, they are a character, but they're not an epic hero. Movement for the Cold Star is 12, toughness is 5, save is 3, wounds are 6, leadership is 7, OC is 2. It won't let you scroll down until you put something in the OC, because that then makes the rest of these questions appear. So range weapons, we've got air bursting, fragmentation projector, burst cannon, cyclic ion blaster, standard, and overcharged. And we've got fusion blaster, there it is. We've got high output burst cannon, and we've got missile pod, plasma rifle, they're right next to each other, missile pod, that's the rifle, and tower flamer right at the bottom. So, oh no, that's twin tower flamer. Fuck! Can be a little bit fiddly, I apologise, it is only needs to be entered once and then you are all done. And I can just fucking adverts. There you go. Is there anything I've got some pasted so far? Alright, try again. So, unit, character, movement 12, toughness 5, armor save 3, wounds 6, leadership 7, OC 2, weapons, air bursting, burst cannon, cyclic ion blaster, overcharged. Oh, I've already done the overcharged, I need 2 standard groups. There we go. Standard, and then fusion blaster. Really doesn't matter what order you add these in, they're going into a database that will sort them by alphabetically. high output, burst cannon, missile, pod, plasma rifle, and then the evil Tau flame abilities. Okay, now all of these are set to hit on a 4 except for Flamer. Because of Torrent, I've just set those on. So Tau Commander actually hits slightly better than regular Tau, so we need to improve that by 1. So now they will change to 3, except for the Tau Flame, which is still already at 1. Melee weapon profiles, he has Battle Swords Fists. He hits ever so slightly better than the standard Tau fighter, so he hits on a 4-up, still should hit melee though. Right, Deep Strike we have, and Leader. Now, any of these ones with an X next to it, you would get a value. So if he had Invulnerable save, you would get Invulnerable X, and it will ask you for the value, and you put in, say, a 4, for example. Or Feel No Pain is also there, Scout is there, Deadly Demise. If it is Deadly Demise D3, you just type in D3. Really, really simple. For this we're going to choose Leader. Select a bodyguard units. It's the same as Commander Farsight. Doesn't matter what order you add these in. I was just trying to be fancy before. Right, additional abilities go away. There we go. Right, Cold Star Commander. Therefore, let me highlight all of it. There we go. I'm going to slap that in here. And then War Gear rules. We can then do these. Oh no, wait. Not me. That's abilities. Here are the options, which is what we're trying to put in. So, Control C. Right, now you'll see something's about to appear when I fill this in. So I'll fill that in, massive. Now we've got War Gear rules. That's this bit here. There we go. Control C, and slap that into here. Right, War Gear options. Now, if it's a weapon, you don't need to click on this, but if it's got something like drones or shield generators or weapon support systems, something like that, then you need to have added them, and then they should appear in here. So for this guy, he can have a gun drone, he could have a shield drone, he could have a shield generator, he could have a marker drone, and I think that's pretty much it. Weapon support system, did I add that in? I didn't. Yes, I did make a weapon support system. Away. Battle support system, did I add that in? I did. I'm on a roll, clearly. Gun, marker, and shield, done. Right, brilliant, that's all. So now we get this bit. Do they need to make any choices? Obviously, some units don't have to choose any sort of war gear or weapons, so you just leave that blank. If they do, you click this and you choose their slots. If you are choosing, so for example, if your unit has 2 weapon choices, like the Fire Warrior Strike teams, they can choose between a Pulse Carbine and a Pulse Blaster. I'd put in 1 slot in here, does not allow duplicates. If, for example, it had drones, like this one does, it can take 2 drones and does allow duplicates. The commander is the only one in the town that does allow duplicates. However, we also have this option here, because the commander can have any combination of these up to 4. So we put 4 in here, and it does allow duplicates. Now that could allow someone to put in 4 shield generators. Not ideal, but it will have to do for now. I will go and make it more robust if we ever release it to the public, but I'm trusting you guys to fill out your characters correctly when you're doing army building. Does this unit have any abilities? Now what that means is, and you see underneath, it's typically found on Primarchs, Demon Primarchs, and comes with 3 choices. So if you think about, for example, Rabute Gilliman, Lionel Johnson, and Grant Ringnoble, they have something like Lionel Johnson lives in a bush, choose from one of his Hedge Knight abilities, which will be option what other in your command phase. Lionel Johnson gets d6 extra inches before jumping out of a bush. Option 2, whilst in a bush, he has a 2-up invul save. Option 3, he is king of bushes. All bushes become sentient and do d6 damage. I don't know, something like that. Obviously, A standard Tower Commander doesn't have that. You can tick this box and you'll see the intro bit, which is the Commander Lionel Johnson lives in a bush, and then this is where you put the option 1, 2 and 3 in there. But this commander doesn't have those, so we're going to untick it. Unit composition, obviously it's this bit here, so we can copy and paste that. And Control C. And Control V. It has just occurred to me you don't need this bottom line, so I'm actually going to delete that. You only need this bit here. If it ever catches up. There we go. So Control C and delete you bastard. Actually delete. Okay, well that's really and then we have the points down here. Now you can't see the points because I have to scroll across, and what I have here is just riddled with adverts. Okay, so one model, 95 points. So one model, 95 points. Obviously some units you could have up to 3 different unit sizes, so you could have your basic troops, which might have 5 models cost this many points, 10 models cost this many, or you might have like Carnifexes where it's 1 Carnifex, 2 Carnifex, 3 Carnifex, for example, or broadside battles, and for each one it's 90 points. If you don't have any options, don't fill in any of these other boxes, leave them blank. And then last thing to do is keywords, so just run back across on keywords properly. Highlight those, Control C, and Control V. And then save. Again, I'm going to fix this so the save button doesn't look quite so shit. But that is it. It's then saved, and we can double check that it's worked by going into the database. And when it's full screen now, you don't see the global Wikipedia. So if I go to the units, and if I filter by name, and let's do I. Oh, could have done both capital on it. Name, there we go. Apply, there we go. We've got Commander and Command Battlesuits, that's all we've got saved. So you can see, I don't know why it saves it as deep and then strike. No idea why it does that. That's weird. And then it's all there. So that's how you know it's, well, you guys won't be able to see this. That's how I will know if it's worked. And then later on, my next job is to make sure that the army builder works, so that we can then just use it in place of a regular army builder, so you don't have to pay for the Warhammer app. Obviously you're welcome to keep doing so, and once that's working we can then get the Crusade stuff going, where we add in other things like battle scars and battle honours, etc, etc. But you need to populate these databases with every unit, every weapon, every war gear before you can start progressing, because without it you can't have your army builder, unfortunately. It's just the way it works. So it requires a bit of legwork from you guys. I'm sorry this video took so long, but I hope you enjoy using the app. Bye.